Hello. Today we're going to be learning the Likkutei Torah daf ayin, and this is we're going to begin by concluding the Maimer Mimana Afar Ya'akov, which was begun on Samach Zayin, and the Maimer is primarily focusing on the purpose of a Jew down here, and the ability that we have to bring a perspective to creation that is divine, which the divine perspective is one of uncountability, right? Which is why Bilam compliments the Jewish people by saying, "Who can count the dust of Yaakov?" That we have this ability to remind creation of the fact that what creation perceives as individuality is really only from the perspective of creation, but that in truth, who can count it? Right? That there is no accountability because because really creation from the perspective of the Eibishter is insignificant, and this is our job down here, and we do this, of course, through Torah mitzvahs. So we're now going to begin with Eis Gimel, which is halfway down the column on Samach Tes Amud Gimel. So it says that this is the purpose of our Yerida, right? The goal of our Yerida is for a subsequent aliyah. Now, how is this an aliyah? Because the Yidden, the Shams Yisrael, come from machshava. Now, what we mean by machshava here is chachma and bina of atzilus. So because machshava is clothing, is to express the seichel, and chachma is the clothing of kesar, and bina is the clothing of chachma. So when we say we come from machshava, we come from chachma and bina, and we descend from that very high place and that very godly place to come down here to engage in Olam Haza and to do mitzvahs and to learn Torah in Olam Haza, and through this we refine Olam Haza, we reveal in Olam Haza the Eibishter's will by doing the positive commandments and by avoiding the negative commandments and the midarabanan. And what we're doing at a Kabbalistic level is we are drawing down Keser into the world because we are drawing down God's will into the world. And in this case, when we talk about Keser, we're talking about Keser as it is a perfect conduit for Malchus of Ein Sof. So the ultimate purpose of Torah mitzvahs is that we bring down a Giloy of Malchus Ein Sof into the world, and this is why we talk about this being an aliyah, because the neshamas originally were in chachma and bina, and now through their avodah down here, the neshama comes back to a giloy of not chachma and bina but keser, and particularly keser as it is a conduit for malchus of Ein Sof. And this is then pshat in the pasuk of velechvodi beraathiv yצרתיו עשיתיו, which has been one of the big psukim of this whole mimer. So the pasuk begins by saying that the whole purpose of creation is velechvodi. The whole purpose of creation is kvodi, which kvodi is malchus of atzilus. So the whole purpose of creation is to draw down malchus of Ein Sof through keser into atzilus. And this is supposed to happen beraathiv yצרתיו עשיתיו. Now, the word af, right, that separates עשיתיו from the rest of the pasuk. So what has been explained earlier on in the mimer is that the word af is an indicator of there being an independent and higher power than anything listed here, and this has been translated in this mimer as being ratzon. And why is it that af is at the end of the pasuk and not at the beginning? Because because ratzon is revealed not in kvodi, not in beraathiv or yצרתיו, but dafke in the world of asiya, in עשיתיו, dafke in that world, the af can be experienced, and this happens by us fulfilling Torah mitzvahs down here specifically, and when we do Torah mitzvahs, we bring down a gilui of keser into all the worlds. Now there is a sugrayim where we kvetch exactly how to make this work with other places where it's described as being as our goal being a gilui of Atzilus, and the way we're reading it is that Keser in this context is Atzilus Shabatzilus. That with it, if you look at the big picture of Seder Stalshalos, Keser would be called Atzilus in this context, and therefore it would still hold true to the statement of the Mimer that our job is to be down here bringing a gilui of Keser. Now, but back into the fnim of the Mimer. So the word af is as is usually translated. The word af is in and of itself a negative term, and this is based on a medrash which says that klipa finds its entrance way through af, right? That there are 3 times in Tanakh that the Nachash, the Sarah Ephim, and Haman all began their arguments with af. So on the one hand, we find that in and of itself, the word af has a negative connotation, but on the other hand, at a grammatical level, the word af is an indication of something higher, which we're reading to be keser. And the pshat is that this dual reality of af is exactly what our avodah is. Our avodah is to take that which is sitra achra, to take that which in and of itself is negative, but and to turn that and transform that and retranslate that into the af that refers to keser. Now we do have a Sagrayim which addresses and develops the idea that Sitra Achra turns into Keser, and what the relationship is between Sitra Achra and Keser, and essentially it is that that Ratzon Elyon is bedafka involved in transforming Sitra Achra into something good, and this is proved and demonstrated through a series of Marmakemis from Chassidus and Kabbalah. But back in the Fnim of the Mimer, the next question we've got to understand is, why is it that Asiya Bedafka is the world in which the Ratzon Elyon can be fulfilled? And the answer is twofold. The first one is that at a practical level, Ratzon Elyon is for mitzvahs begashmias, and the only place that a guf gashmi can do a mitzvah is our world. So at a logistical level, the reason that Ratzon Elyon is fulfilled in Asiya is that Asiya is the only place that can house it. But at a deeper level, the reason that Ratzon Elyon can be fulfilled here is that only here is Ratzon Elyon being challenged. Meaning only here can there be a being that knows Ratzon Elyon, but sees the thing that is Hepech HaRatzon as being a challenge for him, and therefore this is the only world where we have the platform to overcome it. That when I choose to be Mamshich Ratzon Elyon by doing a mitzvah, or when I recognize my taivas and I'm tempted by the things that tempt me, but I still overcome them, and I say that Ratzon Elyon says the opposite, and therefore I'm going to do the thing that I'm supposed to do, not the thing that I want to do. I'm being mamshich Ratzon Elyon down here, and this is something that could only happen here because everywhere else there's no challenge. There's no other place that Ratzon Elyon could be revealed. And with this, we can understand the Maimer Chazal that we brought up on a few pages ago. That the Gemara asks that the pasuk in Hayshea says that the Jews are like the stars like the sand of the sea that has no count and no measure. And so the Gemara says, which one is it? Is it that the Jews are countable because he says that the Jews are like the count of the sand, or do they have no measure and no count, like he says at the end of the pasuk? And the answer the Gemara says is that when then we are like sand that has no count, and or then we have no count. And when we're not then we are countable. And now that we've given context to this whole idea of Ratzon and Keser, we can now understand and appreciate that Maimer Chazal at a much deeper level. Because our goal is that when we do mitzvahs, we draw down Keser Elyon, we draw down Ratzon Elyon into the world, which Ratzon Elyon is a direct transmission of Malchus of Ein Sof. And when Malchus of Ein Sof, and where are we drawing it? We're drawing it into Malchus of Atzilus. Now, Malchus of Atzilus, being that it is the source for creation, so Malchus of Atzilus is the source for time and space. And and Malchus of Atzilus is often read as or translated as Makam. So coming back to this phrase of Chazal, Oisur Ratzon Shel Makam would be read as, we are drawing down Ratzon into Malchus of Atzilus. Now, what happens when we draw Keser and Ein Sof into Malchus of Atzilus? We allow Malchus of Atzilus to transmit that down to Biyah, and to give Biyah this deeper sense of meaning and this deeper perspective of being Ein Sof. And when that happens, we render the finite creations infinite. We give an infinity to creation. So we take, so to speak, the sand of creation, which sand is begeder mispar, right? Sand is something that can be counted, we make it bli mispar. We make it uncountable, meaning that when we draw ratzon into Malchus of Atzilus, and when that ratzon subsequently comes down into Biyah, it makes that which was previously subject to being counted uncountable. And when we don't, right, when we don't fulfill Ratzon Elyon, then that creation reverts back. It goes back to its finite nature, which in its limited nature, and in that sense, it truly can be counted. Now, once again, we have another Segrayim, which is a reference back to the Maimer in Chukas Al Kein Yamru Hamaishlim, which is where we're linking this to the idea of cheshbon, of the Jewish participation in creation through this idea of making a cheshbon. But back to the name of the Maimer. So this is this idea of being uncountable. This is the idea of bringing Keser into Malchus and subsequently into creation. But this is Yehuda, which is that when I do mitzvahs, I'm drawing down this perspective into creation. But Yehuda law is what is done with Torah, and this is the mimana afar Ya'akov. The Bilam doesn't talk about sand; he talks about dirt, and he says, "Who can count the dirt of Ya'akov?" Because and this is a reference to Torah, because Torah is in a state of absolute achdus with the Eibusher, and Torah gives this perspective of absolute achdus, and this is the pnimius hakavana of mitzvahs. So it's called afar Ya'akov because dirt is a solid mass that is not subject to being counted, and this is zav atzilus. So the lens that we're going to explore this through is a line in Sefer Yetzirah that says she'adan yachid ve'ein sheni loy, that my master is one and there is no and he has no second. V'lifnei echad ma'ata sefer, and in front of one, what will you count? Now what we're going to pick up on is the difference between the word yachid and the word echad. That the word echad gives room for counting, and what it says is v'lifnei echad ma'ata sefer. But the word echad here is very specific. That it's only from the perspective of echad, of the one, that we can talk about counting. But from the perspective of Yachid, which might be translated as oneness cannot be counted. The Yachid is not begeder mitzvah. And the word echad in general has this connotation of being one, but one in which I recognize the components. As we find this in the Zohar, that the different parts of Atzilus that are described are being called one, and we also find this in al derech mashal in a person, that the kayach machshava with the bala machshava would be called is called one, is described as being in a state of being one with with the person, and the whole body, all the limbs and all the sinews are all called one. We have one body, but the very fact that we're calling it one is a recognition of the fact that each one of the individual components are individuals, and the statement that we're making is that the human body is a conglomeration and has reached a state of one, but it's a one of many. It's a one that combines many individual parts. But in terms of asmius hanefesh, if you think the nefesh itself does not have even this one, but rather the nefesh itself is called yichida. The nefesh itself is in a state of oneness. There is no individuality. It's not begeder mispar, because the yichida nefesh is lamayla miseichel, and this is the Ratzon HaPashat, which is Pnimius Alev. And from the Pnimius Alev perspective, from the Ratzon HaPashat perspective, there's no idea of mispar. It's not that I see individual parts and I overwhelm those individual parts into being a conglomeration of unity, but that I don't see these individual parts as being as existing. I'm coming from the perspective of Ratzon HaPashat. Ratzon HaPashat sees everything as one. There as a oneness, as a complete entity without any division. Also would be the interpretation lamaila, that lamaila we talk about atzilus, we talk about the kelim of atzilus. The kelim of atzilus, despite the fact that they are one because of a higher power. They are one because of their response to Aryan Seif that combines them as one. But the Eibusher Aziz himself, where we say Einad Movadai, these Pasha B'tachos of Pshitos, there's no Geder of Mispar. From the perspective of Atzmos, there is no individuality. There's no division. There's not even a division that is united. There is no accountability. And this is why it says in Sefer Yetzirah that who can count echad. And so coming back to the Yerida of the neshamas, that the Yerida of the neshama is l'tzarech aliyah. That before we came down, we the neshama has the perspective of echad, which means that we're all of a machshava, like we say that echad haya Avraham. That Avraham included all the neshamas Yisrael that were going to come after him, but these neshamas were combined in an echad state, because they're echad in that they were all of machshava, and as we said before, machshava from the perspective of the Baal machshava is one with him, right? It's completely one. But when it comes down, when the neshama actually comes down, and it's Asik and Torah mitzvahs, and it's specifically Asik from the Torah perspective, meaning from the Afar Yaakov perspective, the Zav Atzilus perspective, and the mitzvahs which are called, which is Malchus, which is the mitzvahs HaMelech. So what we're drawing down is not the Echad, but the Yachid. We're drawing down the true oneness of creation, the true absolute unity of creation, where everything is truly one with God as He is Himself. And this is explained at a deeper sense in the Sograim, that this happens through Zah, and that Zah is called Afar Yaakov because in this sense Zah is what is drawing down Keser of Atzilus. Now, coming back to the original pasuk, what the original pasuk said, Mimana Afar Yaakov, Umispar is Rova Yisrael. So the final question that we're going to ask in this mimer is that in general, or always, Yisrael is higher than Yaakov. So why is it that the Mimana, that which Mimana Afar, which we're reading to be the higher unity, right? To be the Yichud law and the higher perspective. Why is that a Yaakov perspective, whereas the Rova Yisrael, Umisper's Rova Yisrael is a Yisrael perspective? And the answer is that it's B'dafka Yaakov that's capable of doing this, because the sheirish of Yaakov, the source of Yaakov, is higher than Zoh, which is Yisrael, because because Yaakov has the ability to draw down from chachma into za, but it ends up falling lower and ultimately playing out in its revealed sense. Yaakov ends up being lower than za. And this is hinted to in the Yud Ekev of Yaakov, that the Yud is Yesod Abba, and it's connected to Ekev. It's connected to the bottom. So Yisrael is Za, which Za is lower than Yesod Abba. But in Mitzad Sharshay, Yaakov is actually higher, and Yaakov is particularly the ability to span that gap and to do what we're talking about here. That through being Messiah Rachamim Rabim, that we reach a point at which the Eibishter gives us a gift, and the gift is a Gilei Pnimius Alev, and the higher perspective is not something that we can reach at an intellectual level. The higher perspective, the Yehudi law perspective, at a revealed state, is something that we could only have as a gift. So we need Yaakov, who Yaakov is the master of being Messiah Rachamim Rabim, and eliciting from the Eibishter that gift of that higher perspective. And this is why it says Mimana Afar Yaakov specifically, that Yaakov has the ability to reveal to reveal the Torah, and this is why it says that I'll pick them up on Kanfei Nesharim, which is a Yaakov quality, and the pasuk continues Va'avi Eschem Alai, that I will then bring them to me, right? And this is specifically happens through this Yaakov, through this ability to span a gap. Yaakov facilitates this revelation. And this gives us a deeper interpretation into the Rova Yisrael. The Rova Yisrael has two interpretations to it. Either it can be read as a fourth, or it can be read as four. And so when you're reading it as a fourth, this is a reference to mitzvahs maisius, which mitzvahs maisius bedafka happen in the Asiyah of Atzilus, which has this fourth quality, and then there's also the idea of there being four. Now, both of these end up being true, even in Asiyah of Atzilus, because Asiyah of Atzilus is Malchus of Atzilus. So in Asiyah of Atzilus, there is represented all four qualities, meaning Ratzon, Machshava Dibra Maisa, or Atzilus, Briyatzir Asiyah. They are all represented in Atzilus, and they all receive this degree of fulfillment in Asiyah of Atzilus, which is in Malchus of Atzilus. The goal is to draw down Keser through action into Asiyah, and that and in drawing down Keser into Asiyah, this is influencing all four worlds, right? As we said, this was the idea of the Af Asisiv, right? That the Af is an indication of Keser, and this is being drawn down through Asiyah, and it's ultimately affecting all of them. So it comes out that the four each have this quality, that they are all affected by the fourth, meaning that all four worlds all are impacted by this fourth quality, which was Keser, and by doing mitzvahs gashmias, we bring down a gilui of ratzon into all of the mitzvahs, and this then becomes the full explanation for the statement of Bilam. Now, the very end of the mimer is another final sagrayim where this is being resolved with two other places in Likkutei Torah and Torah that are both that are reiterating the same themes and lining up the themes that we have discussed in this mimer. And with this, we finish the mimer Mimana Afar Yaakov. Now the next mimer is the top of Daf Ayin Amud Gimel, and the mimer is Lahibit Aven B'Yaakov. So we know that there are these two madrigas. There's Yaakov and Yisrael, and there's also there's two madrigas there's two types of Eved Hashem, which is the Eved and the Ben. So Yaakov is an Eved, right? And Yisrael is a Ben, as we say B'ni B'chei Yisrael, and we find psukim that also support Yaakov being an Eved. So to understand, first we're going to understand what the Eved is, and to understand the Avodah, we have to understand what does it mean that we serve God. We know that there's the idea of serving God, right? As we find many times the right? We find this idea that we are the Eibishter's avadim, but what is the avodah? So the idea of avodah is the idea of being misharis, right? The job of a servant is to accompany his master and to support his master and to help his master and to ease his master's life and to wait upon him and to do things for him. And now we have to understand when it comes to the Eibishter that the Eibishter is ined milvadei, right? And the Eibishter is perfect. So what is it that we are providing him that he can't provide himself? What is it that we're doing for God that he needs, so to speak, and that no one else can when it comes to a master, we say no one else can do it. For the Eibishter, there is nobody else. So this is understood through the Maimer Nesavakadosh Baruch Hu Lios Loi Dir B'Tachtenim, that the Eibishter has this taiva for Dir B'Tachtenim. Now we know Ani Havayla Shenisi that the Eibishter is not affected or impacted by creation, and that that before creation it was him and his name alone, and that the Eibishter was alone before there even was time, because we know that time is something that is created. The time, even though time existed before the creation of the physical universe, but that time comes into existence. Seder Zmanim, an awareness of time, comes into existence in Atzilus. But before that, there is no Seder Zmanim. The Eibishter is completely L'maylam Zman, and that the Eibishter will be around completely unaffected after the world is gone, after the universe is gone. And so even now, where we perceive there to be a universe, and we perceive the universe is real, from the Eibishter's perspective, right? That nothing matters. Nothing is in front of him. From his perspective, the existence is immaterial, and that the yeshus, the existence is only our perspective. But this perspective is the helem, right? This perspective is the idea that there's a helem which is master lakus. And this becomes where we live, and the purpose of creation is that the Eibishter and Savakadosh Baruch Hu is laid dir b'tachtenim, meaning that the Eibishter wants to be in the Helim, in the Cheshech Kafel and Mechufel, and that there should be a Gilui Elokus there too. And now, what does it mean when we say tachtenim? When even though from the perspective of the Eibishter there is no space, there is no above and below, and that everything is one before him. That what we're saying is the part of creation that is imbued with this symptom. It's imbued with this helem, and so it's the lowest point, meaning the point with the least gilui elokus. And it's dafka there that the Eibishter wants his hiskalos, right? The Eibishter wants to be revealed there, and that he wants there to be a perspective down here of where we appreciate the reality and the mentality that is had in the Elam Asal Yenim of Kulak Mekalechshib. Now, although this is true, although we don't know why he has this taiva, but what we can say as a fact that this taiva exists, that kach ala b'rtzonim. Now, the injunction to make a derib b'tachtenim then begs the question: what is it exactly that we do that causes or allows for derib b'tachtenim to exist? and this is through iskafia neshapcha. And this is the mashal for this is a melech basar v'dam, that a king who wants to make a dira for himself first has to get rid of all the bad, and only then can he bring in his beautiful vessels and his bed and his chair and his table and his menorah, right? And and this becomes the avodah of the avodas Adam it says that we are put in Gan Eden to work and to protect. That and it says, it's explained in Chazal that la'avda is ramach mitzvah essay, l'shamra is shesal leisase, that the leisase is the removal of evil, and the right, which is in the analogy, this would be the cleaning out the room of all the dirt and all the mess. And the mitzvahs aseh are like bringing in new kalim. That when we do a mitzvah, we are drawing down a gilel kos lamata. We are drawing down a hamshacha, which is now behelem, and when Mashiach comes will be begilei. And this is the idea of the avodah being melashon tikkun, that through our avodah we are drawing down a gilei milmaila, and we are being masak in the world around us. And the ramach pikudin, right, the 248 limbs of the king are the kelim that draws down our insaif into the world. That just like the evarim become kelim for the ar and chayas hanefesh, so too it is that our mitzvahs bring that down. And this is why we say before every mitzvah, this mention of tefillah brings us to a very interesting concept, which is that tefillah is not in the minyan of mitzvahs, even though it's brought down that it's more important, arguably, to have kavana while you're davening than even to have kavana while you're saying krishma, which krishma is a mitzvah midaraisa. The tefillah is not brought down according to most opinions in the minyan of mitzvahs. So why is this? And to understand this, we have to first address the fact that it's brought down in the Gemara and in the Zohar that the 18 brachas of Shemay Esrei are connected the 18 bones in the spinal column, which contain the spinal cord. So we find something very interesting, that it says that a human being has 248 avarim, and when these are counted, the 18 bones are in the spinal column are listed, but the spinal cord is not listed. That the spinal cord is not put in a list of body parts. Now, this seems to not make all that much sense, given the fact that the spinal cord is the thing which connects and gives life to every one of the body parts from the right. It connects the head all the way to the thighs and to the feet, and that the life goes from the brain into each one of the avarim, and each one of the avarim are the nerve endings that connect the avarim to the brain are transported through the spinal cord. So. But it seems very perplexing that the spinal cord is not part of the list, and the reason is that the spinal cord is its only function is the connector. That it begins in the brain, it ends in the feet, and it has the job of connecting all the body parts together with the brain, which is why the spinal cord injury will disconnect a body part from the brain completely. Now in the Nimshal, we have 248 mitzvahs, and these mitzvahs are need kavana. What is the kavana? This is the tefillah. That the tefillah gives meaning and gives identity to the mitzvahs, and it provides them with this structural soundness and this connection with the body as a whole. The ramach mitzvahs aseh, just like the spinal cord, which connects all the avarim to the brain, even though it itself is not considered a relevant part part of the body, when we talk about the minyan ha'avarim, so too tefillah. That even though it brings the kavana, it itself, its whole function is to be this connector. That the main kavana of tefillah is that we are requesting that Aryan Seif, that's l'mayla me'ishtalshalos, be baruch, be nimshach down here into ishtalshalos, and this is why we say baruch atah Hashem, that we are asking that that there should be a hamshacha of havaya from the perspective of Ata, from Aryan Seif itself, and that this should come down into Hishtalshalos. And the proof to this is the structure of the sentence Baruch, bring down Ata, Aryan Seif, Havaya, right? But so Yud-Ke Vav-Ke is the letter Yud is the beginning, is the Tzimtzum, Hey is Hispashtos, Vav is Hamshacha, and Hey is Hispashtos. Yud-Ke Vav-Ke is often described as being the shame of Hishtalshalos. So Baruch Ata Hashem is talking about the Hamshacha of Ata into Hishtalshalos, and the reason that Ata is needed is that the Yud-Ke Vav-Ke brings down a ha'ara which is mitzumtzum, and what we're trying to bring down is Aryan Seif Shalamaylam Hishtalshalos. And this is the idea of the bakashas of Shemay Esrei, that when I ask things in Shemay Esrei, I'm asking that there should be a hamshacha that's l'mayla b'seder shtalshalos, which is why we say Baruch Ata, and I want this hamshacha to be b'shem havaya. I'm asking Yisrael, I'm asking Baruch Hashanim, I'm asking for a gilei lukus within the physical reality. I want this gilei lukus to actually make people, sick people, better. I want the land to produce more life. And I want that to be through my tefillah, which brings down a gila Aryan Seif. And the requests that we're making are not b'derech haslabshos, but I'm actually asking to change the very fabric of reality. I want the person who is sick to go beyond the natural course of things, where the illness wouldn't go away, and I want that illness to go away. I want the land, which has a finite amount of vegetation that it can sprout, to sprout more. And this is what I'm asking. I'm asking for a gila lukus that enters the world and transforms the world. Masha'in kain, the cloth of tefillin, where the cloth doesn't actually get physically changed, but when we make our request during Shemay Esrei, we are actually requesting a physical change in reality through the Gilei Aryan Seif. And this is linked to the idea that it says in the Zohar that a bracha needs somewhere to go, that in order for there to be hamshachas ha'ar, there needs to be a keli that can catch it. And this is why we specifically ask for physical things. I say that there are sick people and that there's soil, and I'm seeing these as kelim to receive the ar. And but the main point is the main idea of this tefillah is not that I'm thinking about the gashmias that I care about and I want to help, that I want to have helped. I'm thinking more about the Baruch Ata Hashem, about the Gilei Elokus, the Gilei Aryan Seif, that will enact that change. And this then comes back to the idea of the 18 brachas of Shemay Esrei being linked to the bones in the spinal column, that they are kelim, that the brachas of Shemay Esrei are kelim for hashrais and gilei Aryan Seif, that is drawn down through tefillah. That just like the bones in the spine are the kelim for the spinal cord, which the spinal cord's job is to draw down chayas from the brain into all the different parts of the body. So too it is that when I daven, I'm requesting that that through these kelim of these different things that I'm asking a bracha for, there should be a gila lakus in the world. And with this, we can resolve a very interesting stira, that that tefillah is not in the minyan mitzvahs, is not one of the ramach mitzvahs I say. But then when we when the Ramach mitzvahs say are linked to the Ramach Eivarim, but when we list the Ramach Eivarim, we do list the spinal column. But now we can understand that that we're differentiating between the spine, the spinal cord, and the spinal column. That when it comes to tefillah, there are two components. There's the kavanas tefillah, which is the focus of asking for hamshachas barachata Hashem agile arin safe, and the second one is the actual request itself, which is the reifei chelim, which is the mavarech hashanim. But these requests are kelim for the ar. The bones are the kelim, and they are the receptacles for the spinal cord, which is why we find a very interesting halacha that when it comes to the laws of trephus, if the spinal column has broken, if the bones have broken, but the cord has not, then there would be argument to say that it is kosher, because the chayas is still able to pass through, and because the spinal cord is this tool that allows chayas to pass down. And this comes to a very interesting concept, which is that we talked before about the idea that the bones of the spine are listed in the minyan ha'evarim, which the bones of the spine are the kelim for the spinal cord, and so and now we can understand why when it comes to the list of minyan mitzvahs we don't have tefillah, because the bones of the spine are only the kelim, meaning in reality the whole identity of the spine is the spinal cord, and the spinal cord is the thing which is not listed. And so when it comes to tefillah as well, the kavanah of tefillah is the main idea of tefillah, but the tefillah is not listed because it's the conduit, it's the kavanah, it's not the thing that we recognize. And this is this brings us to another very interesting topic, a halacha in Shulchan Aruch, that says that a person who when they bow for maidim, they have to make sure to bend the bones of their spine. And the reason that for that is that we need to show that our request for bracha comes with this idea of bittul. There has to be that link, and because the spine, the kelim for life, that is the spine, we have to show that our request into these kelim is a request that comes with this infusion of bittul.